Human aging and death are not destiny, but the result of toxins accumulating. When toxins overflow, organs begin to collapse, and life moves toward its end. This video reveals the truth. How to block toxins, slow down aging, and preserve youth.
Alright, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a text that makes a pretty wild claim, that aging isn't inevitable at all, and that the path to a kind of immortality, well, it might be a lot closer and cheaper than any of us think.
So, right out of the gate, the source material hits you with this super bold statement. It's designed to immediately challenge one of our deepest beliefs about life. It's setting the stage, telling us we're not victims of time, but of some hidden enemy we haven't even recognized.
So, who is this true enemy they're talking about? Well, the author puts forward this really radical theory. The argument is that what we call aging is actually something else entirely, and time, believe it or not, isn't the real villain here.
Okay, so the whole argument hinges on what they call the toxin accumulation theory. And the idea is actually pretty simple. We don't really get old, we just get filled up with toxins until our systems finally give out. According to this theory, our entire lifespan is just a measure of how quickly we accumulate these poisons.
So you can kind of see how this frames our lives, right? It's like a predictable journey from a pure, clean state to one of total saturation. It's not about how many birthdays you've had, but about how full your personal container, your body, is with these toxins. Eventually, it just overflows. And that's the real kicker here. The whole argument is trying to get you to stop thinking about the clock and start thinking about, well, poison. If you buy into this idea, then the solution to aging isn't in some futuristic gene therapy, but in just controlling the environment right around you.
So, if toxins are the bad guys, which ones are we supposed to be worried about? According to this text, it's not the stuff you can see or even smell. It's an invisible threat that's supposedly all around us, all the time.
The text really hones in on this idea of nanotoxins. Think of them as these microscopic assassins, so small they allegedly slip right past all our body's natural defenses, getting deep into our cells and even crossing the blood-brain barrier.
And this is where it starts to hit close to home, right? Because the source points the finger at stuff we have all around us. VOCs, for example. Those are volatile organic compounds, basically chemical gases that are released from everyday things like perfumes, cleaners, even that new furniture smell. The argument is, our homes are just swimming in this stuff. And then the text connects the dots, drawing a straight line from these invisible toxins to so many of the chronic illnesses we see today. It paints this picture where the very air we're breathing is working against us, flipping the switches on inflammation, DNA damage, all the stuff we typically associate with just getting old.
Okay, so at this point you're probably thinking, but wait, what about our bodies? Don't we have defenses? Well, the text is ready for that question. It basically tries to dismantle our sense of security, arguing that both our tech and our biology just aren't up to the task.
It goes right after the one thing most of us rely on for clean air. It frames our trust in things like HEPA filters as a huge misunderstanding of what the real problem is.
Yeah, the argument here is basically that your HEPA filter is like using a giant fishing net to try and catch sand. Sure, it nabs the big stuff, the pollen, the dust, no problem. But the really nasty particles, the so-called real killers, according to this source, they sail right on through. And then it comes for our biology. That whole idea that my body can just detox itself, the text argues that's another dangerous myth, at least when we're talking about these specific modern-day toxins.
The key difference, according to the source, is all about evolution. Our bodies are amazing at handling stuff we've dealt with for millennia, like food poisoning, but industrial nanoparticles, that's a whole different ballgame. The text claims that once these things are in, they're in for good. They become part of you.
And this is why the source just waves away all those other anti-aging solutions, calling them illusions. It's like trying to patch a hole in a boat while it's still taking on water. You can fix the damage all you want, but you're not stopping the flood. So, after breaking down the problem and basically telling you that your defenses are useless, the source finally unveils its one true solution. And it's not just another filter. It's a totally different way of thinking about clean air.
And they're really careful with the wording here. It's not just another filter. Oh no, it's a biologically engineered air defense capsule. The whole idea is to create a fortress, a total safe zone. The goal isn't just to clean the air, but to build a shield against the outside world.
So how does this thing supposedly work? Well, it's laid out as this multi-stage trap that's basically inescapable for toxins. See, it's not a passive screen. It's an active system that first charges the particles, then captures them, and finally removes even the tiniest nanotoxins. It's designed to be a one-way street. And this brings us to the grand finale, the ultimate promise. The source redefines immortality itself. Not as living forever in some sci-fi movie, but as something much more practical, something that's supposedly achievable right now.
So let's be clear. The goal isn't to turn back the clock to when you were 18. It's about pausing it. It's about delaying that point where the toxins finally win. The promise is to keep your body in its prime for way, way longer.
And to really hammer this point home, the source gives us this table. It's this stark, almost mathematical look at two possible futures. The entire path of a life is shown to split in two, and the only thing that changes is the number of hours you spend breathing this purified air. It makes the abstract idea incredibly concrete.
So you see, the final vision here is way bigger than just one person's health. It's pitched as a silent upgrade of civilization, an idea so powerful it would change everything. How long we work, how insurance works, the entire economy. It's a revolution that starts not in a lab, but in your living room.
And that leaves us with a pretty provocative question, doesn't it? What happens when the secret to a longer life isn't in a pill or a gene therapy, but in the very air you choose to breathe? It completely reframes our relationship with the world around us. And that's definitely something to think about.